DLC.
It's true. I will also take all of my previously playlist time and put it into VR time, because let's talk about the Apple Vision Pro.
Virtual reality. VR. Virtual reality. Just VR.
Spatial computing.
Just
can't call it
VR anymore.
Don't call it VR. Spatial computing.
Don't you dare put an A or a the in front of it either.
So I did spend an absurd amount of money on a VR headset this week.
But $70 for Like a Dragon's too much. Go ahead. Sorry, I've been waiting all episode.
that is why $70 for Like a Dragon is too much. It's called priorities, Christian. My family doesn't understand. Yeah, I mean, it's sitting right behind me back there, and I have been using it quite a lot since I picked it up on February 2nd. It's almost weird to talk about it on a video game podcast, because it is very much not positioned as a video game device, in contrast to almost all of the VR headsets that have come out. I mean, even the purportedly enterprise level VR headsets have supported a ton of games out of the box, and this one just doesn't. And it's such a shame. There are a number of games available to play on it. I will speak about all the ones I have played shortly, but my biggest gripe about the whole thing is that it feels like such a missed opportunity, in that there is a ton of really high caliber VR content that is out there and available for Apple to bring to this device, or have brought at launch, and they just aren't interested in that, right? They're trying to do something different. And I suppose I can respect that from a certain perspective, in that they're trying to create this device and really convince folks that they can live their digital lives on it. And to a certain extent, that's true. To another extent, like, I'm not interested in answering email in a headset. Like, that's just, there's a better way to answer email, and it's while I'm on the toilet on my phone. And so it doesn't improve that experience, right? It doesn't improve. It's kind of slick to be able to, have this thing on your face and dictate an email to Siri, or, hunt and peck, because you can only push one key at a time, or tap your fingers one at a time to type things out. There's a certain whiz bang coolness to that, but it's not the best way to do it. And I do think the video game side of it has proven to be, for me, very compelling, and I wish Apple had embraced that more. That said, I mean, I'm open to any questions that either of you have about it, if you're curious. I will say it does have that level of Apple polish that I think they always bring to the table, and was what I was most excited about with regard to trying their entry into this technology. My biggest takeaway from owning the Apple Vision Pro is how impressive the Meta Quest 3 is. It really is not that far behind.
Okay.
I think, as cool as the controllerless interface is, and how well it seems to work, tapping your fingers is like clicking a mouse button, and it works. It's very well done. It's very well integrated. It feels relatively natural. You're clicking a mouse by tapping your fingers together, and you are moving the mouse by moving your eyes, which is really cool, but also can be a bit fatiguing.
My mouse keeps hovering on characters' butts. Why are you looking at that butt the whole time? And now you're clicking it?
Why are you clicking on so many butts?
We know where you're looking. I'm not. I'm looking right at you, Jeff. I am clearly looking right at you. Quit clicking my bottom.
No, it's there's something really cool. Like, for example, put in your unlock code, And of course, mine, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As hey, that's the same combination I have in my luggage. But let's say it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Of like looking at the 1, tapping your fingers, looking at 2, tapping your fingers, looking at 3, tapping your fingers, looking at 4, tapping your fingers. Like that is slick and fast and awesome. And I just love this, like boop, 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 boop. I could look around and just boop, 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 and do it. That's pretty neat. And there is a pretty neat element about just tapping your finger, looking at something and tapping your fingers, looking over here and tapping your fingers. But also, I think when you're on a computer, you're not always looking right at the thing that you want to click, right? Your eyes are more relaxed than that. And at a certain point when you're really like, I need to look at this to get it right, I need to look at that to get it right, it can be a bit fatiguing. It can be a bit intense to like focus your eyes on the very thing I want and make sure my eyes are focused on that, because once I tap my fingers, whatever I'm looking at is what I'm tapping. So don't like look at it and then look away and tap, because you'll launch the other app that you didn't want to launch. It's so as naturalistic as it is and natural feeling as it is, there is like a concentration that maybe as the weeks and months pass will even settle into being more natural. But I think it is like there's a specificity that you want when you're operating a computer. You want to make sure you're telling it the right things. And so because my eyes are what's telling it, I'm really looking at the thing and making sure it, because when you look at it, it kind of like highlights for a second. So you make sure it highlighted and then I tap. And I don't know. I just think having still own numerous VR headsets, it's just better to push a button. It just is. And I do prefer having a controller in my hand, because then I know I pushed the button. There's no, well, did I hit the right thing? Did I pushed the button, like, and maybe that will go away, because for the most part, it's very well tuned and accurate, but not as accurate as my button and my little stick, selecting what I want to select. And the weirdest part about all of that, in my opinion, is that I don't know if this is a mandate from Apple or if it's just sort of how it has happened with this first round of apps, but everybody is very concerned about using that interface, to the point where I played Lego Builder's Journey, which is a game I've played on other platforms. And I will say, looks utterly stunning on Apple Vision Pro. I mean, it looks like there are real Legos hovering in your room. It's wild, because the game does not, it uses pass-through, so it doesn't eliminate the world around you. It just presents Lego bricks and little Lego characters in your world, hovering there. But they look photorealistic. They're lit beautifully. They move and sound right. It's a beautiful game on any platform, but particularly on Apple Vision Pro with such great screens and resolution. It is really, really beautiful. But because there's Lego hovering in front of me, what I would assume would be the way to manipulate them is I would reach my hand out and grab it and pick it up and put it somewhere. That is not how you play that game. What you do is you look at the brick you want and you tap your fingers together and it picks up the brick. And then you move your hand through space, but you don't move your hand through space but in the physical space of where the brick is going to go. You move your hand wherever your hand happens to be, and it moves the brick, 2 feet away, and it mirrors how your hand is moving, but you're not actually physically grabbing the thing and placing it where you want to place it, which to me is the intuitive, natural way to do it. And the way you do it, most games on other VR headsets, is you take the controller, you reach to the spot, you hold the grip button, you pick up the thing, and you move it over here and you drop it down. That's most VR interactions across all the headsets. That's mostly how you do it. When you're talking about moving an object, you reach over, you grab the object, you move your hand and drop the object, whatever it is. It's just not how it's done here. You look at the object, it highlights it, you tap your fingers somewhere else in space, and then you move your hand and it hovers out in space ahead of you and lands where you're going to let it land and release it. And to rotate the piece, you tap your other hand fingers together. So you're doing this stuff. You're a crab. You're like, tick, 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 tick. It's still cool. It's not cool, but it's bizarrely different than, oh, I've got AR bricks in my world. I can just pick them up and move them, which is what I would assume would be the way you would want to do it. Weird, right?
I wonder if there is something about unifying the experience as much as possible. I mean, famous or infamous, I feel like Apple is, pick your level of famous or infamous on it, of introducing things slowly and bringing people into a world. Much was made over the first iPod and having you use the wheel, and you're actually scrolling through music akin to a jukebox or something where it's clicking by. The iPhone, the calendar looked like a calendar. The Notes app looked like a lined piece of paper. This idea of really ushering you into new technology through old technology. And I think I've heard, having not gone face on with it, I'm going to go do a demo here this week as we're recording this. But this idea of, people joke, oh, it's an iPad on your face. And to some extent, yes, it is, because you know how to use that. So we're going to ease you into this experience. And I do think there's something interesting about the look and tap, again, having not tried it yet, but this idea of it being universal, a universal language that just kind of works and is perhaps less fatiguing than, keeping my arm out and straight, and holding nothing in my hand for 20 minutes as my arm starts to tremble because I've had my arm out.
I also played Synth Riders, which is a game that has been out on other VR headsets as well, and does control more traditionally in that it tracks your hands at all times, and your hands are replaced by icons, for lack of a better term, objects. And, Synth Riders is is a Beat Saber-esque rhythm game, but instead of having lightsabers that you slash the beats, it's just sort of orbs that you need to reach out and touch. And so, playing it on Quest or Vive or whatever you want to play it on, you have the controllers and you're touching the dots as they come down the highway toward you, and you're making the music and you touch the dots. Well, Synth Riders on Apple Vision Pro works exactly the same way, except you're not holding anything. You just have your hands out there. So you're touching stuff. So it's certainly possible and already available for them to do that kind of thing. And honestly, as I was playing Synth Riders, I was like, where's my Doctor Strange game where I'm a magician, shooting energy out of my hands, like that? That's awesome. Give me, not holding a controller, but and I have to make the symbols of my fingers like Doctor Strange does in the movies, because it has that level of fidelity. It knows which fingers I'm holding up. That would be rad. Make that game.
What's Avatar like, though?
Oh man, it's so good. It's the best way. It's better than watching in the movie theater.
Really?
Honestly. Yeah, because I'm in the movie theater, it's like you get those crappy glasses that 400 other people wore, and they put in a bath of disinfectant, 27 times that day. And, and they're flimsy and they're kind of crinkled. And I wear glasses now, so I have to put those movie theater glasses over my actual glasses. It's the worst. But with my Apple Vision Pro, right, I got $140 glasses inserts that that click into place with magnets, and it's so rad, and it's perfect, and my vision's crystal clear in that thing. And I push the button, and now I'm in a giant movie theater instead of my house, and it looks like a giant movie theater, and it's
cool.
huge, and it's crystal clear, and the 3D is popping out, and depth is amazing, and it's just the audio is phenomenal. I mean, it is, and there's a ton of 3D content on the Disney Plus app right out of the gate. I mean, I watched The Last Jedi, I watched Endgame, I watched Way of Water. I mean, there's like, tons of Pixar stuff, and there's lots of Fury Road is in 3D. So there's both the native 3D stuff and the post-processed 3D stuff, but all of it looks really good. It's so bright and vibrant and crisp. It's like you're at the mercy of those movie theaters to boost the brightness to get past the dimness of the little glasses that you have to wear. No, not here, man. It's gorgeous. So if you like 3D movies, which I think fewer and fewer people do, but I do, it is the way to watch them is on Apple Vision Pro. But also, not bad on Quest 3. Quest 3, not a terrible experience watching a 3D movie.
So ask, what about a 2D movie? So, you've talked about it publicly, so I'll talk about it for people who have forgotten. You have a projector. You have a movie theater, a home theater at your house.
Yes.
You also have nice television flat screens, and you have multiple VR headsets. So my question to you, that is not my personal question, that I'm asking this as a proxy for our audience. I could ask you this offline. I don't want to take up everybody's time with my own personal questions for you. But if you're alone watching, I don't know, pick a blockbuster that's not in 3D, you're gonna watch the Batman, and you want to watch the Batman the best way possible, the Batman 2, whatever it is, by yourself. How do you watch that film?
I think for me personally, I would be less inclined to watch it on Apple Vision Pro. That isn't to say it's not a phenomenal viewing experience in that headset. I do think it's phenomenal. And it's a strange thing. I think 10 years ago, it would be gobsmacking to people, because I remember when I got, I have a 75-inch TV. And when I got it years ago now, people would come over to my house and be like, oh my God, it's huge. Now, no one blinks an eye at 75-inch TV. Like, you can't get a TV that's less than 55 inches. They don't sell them, like a giant TV is just normal. You can get Costco will give you an 80-inch TV for like $300.
You're at the grocery store by the cash registers now.
Exactly. It's like I'll get a Three Musketeers and this 80-incher, OLED.
As an impulse buy in the checkout line. I love that. I don't know. Do we forget
I'll
anything?
get the People magazine, and I will also
Gum.
get. It really is. It's like the size of the average television in someone's home is so much bigger than it ever used to be. I think just because screens have gotten down in price and they're much more common, and people are getting really big TVs. So I think the experience of having a massive screen in front of you is probably less impactful than it used to be, but it is cool, and it is a very personal experience. You are isolated, you're in your own space. So if that's like, I saw somebody online who was like, man, I'm holding my newborn and watching Avatar, it's not disturbing my newborn, and I get to watch it like I'm in a giant movie theater. There are use cases for needing to be isolated and not disturbing anybody else and in your own little world. I think it's phenomenal for that. But, I personally would prefer having the sound in the room with me and looking at a big, actual big screen for 2D stuff. But for 3D stuff, there's no comparison.
Could you ever see yourself traveling with it? Like, could you be sitting on an airplane watching that movie, or would that be too weird? And society hasn't gotten used to that kind of thing
society has. I think it's going to be normalized much quicker than any of us think. I think it's going to get normalized pretty fast. And in that situation, I think, there is this weird they say this headset is expensive, and it is. But the real cost is that evidently you have to video yourself using it in public in the most obnoxious way possible, and then
create
upload
a
that to
TikTok
the internet.
account. You have to wait in line. You have to make
It's
a
a
scene while
requirement.
ordering your coffee. You have to
It's
drive
right
your
that you
Tesla
put it on. It's like
while
it's please go out in public and do something stupid with this on your face. And it's like I don't care if I have to.
Someone in the MinMax Discord was saying they work in a hospital today and they got the first case of someone walking into something because they had the Apple thing on their head and they had to go to the hospital for it.
That's very funny.
You should see I can say this because it's public now, but you should see the legal rider that goes with owning a Cybertruck and an Apple Vision Pro. There's a lot of things you have to do. It's the EULA. It's the modern EULA that you have to do if you own both of them.
Yeah. It's like, are you certain you're a jerk? Yes, I am. Okay, you can own both. It's because this is a video game podcast. I want to focus more on the video game thing. The dinosaur encounter experience. Christian, make sure at your appointment they show you that, because that is the hint of what is possible. That is like, when game developers actually go for it on this thing, we are in for an extraordinary new kind of experience, because it is a very short, the dinosaur encounter little app that comes preloaded on the headset. It only lasts about 5 minutes or so, but it's a photorealistic dinosaur world that just opens up in your house. It's insane.
Cool.
It's wild. The other thing, there's another app that I highly recommend people try, which is called Amaze VR Concerts or something like that, or Amaze Concerts VR or something like that. And there are a couple of artists who I don't even know. That's how, out of the loop I am and old. But, it has like a music video in the headset, and it just looks like a person. It's like a human. The fidelity is extraordinary. But anyway, so the games that I played Lego's Builder's Journal and some other, kind of common mobile games, Cut the Rope 3, Jetpack Joyride 2, both of which had really great presentation. Jetpack Joyride creates a whole world around you in 3D, but then plays the game like on a screen, like you're sitting in this futuristic landscape, and there's a screen with Jetpack Joyride playing on it. And all you do, I don't know if you guys have played Jetpack Joyride, but it's basically a one-button game. So basically all you do is tap your fingers together to make the jetpack go, and you're automatically shooting, and you're just tapping your fingers together to play. And it's fun. It's cool. Similarly, Cut the Rope is, a little puzzle game, mobile puzzle game, but it creates this really awesome 3-dimensional frame that the game is in and has layers of 3D in it. So it looks really impressive. But again, these are not taking full advantage of what this thing does best. It's just like a neat presentation of what is ostensibly a 2D game. And you're, closing your fingers together to cut a rope and try to get the baby monster to the mommy monster. Very fun game, really cool presentation. But like, I want to see what this thing really can do with VR games. And with just nothing like that right now. And honestly, that's the gripe, right? Is that they're watching 3D movies, watching content. That's the bulk of what's available to be done on this thing right now, unless you plan to do computing and have it be a Mac screen extender and you can have screens all around you. It's kind of neat, but not what I come to the yard for. For me, the killer app right now is the Spatial Video. Spatial Video is extraordinary. And I think it's going to be how the world records things going forward. I do think, how we all, maybe not you, Haley, because you're so young, but Christian and I, look back at photos from our youth.
Also,
the old guys,
no,
me and
I don't
Christian
know what
here.
you're talking about. No idea.
We look back at photos from our youth, and we're like, man, we thought that was like a good photograph, and it looks like crap.
You can tell it's pixelated. It like the, not even
looks awful.
The physical thing or the digital.
I can
thing
barely even
looks,
see the
yeah.
people there. It's the quality is awful compared to like these incredible, 5 billion megapixel gorgeous HDR light. It's just gorgeous. These photos that we trivially take all day long. Just pick, pick, pick. Oh, here's a picture of the bill at the at dinner. I'll just take a picture with the greatest camera that has ever been invented by humankind. So it's hard to imagine like, oh, those photos are going to look, old to my kids.
Yeah.
But I think this is why, because they are going to expect a 3-dimensional representation of the world to be what is captured. And I have gotten completely addicted to capturing 3-dimensional videos of my kids because it to me feels like the closest thing to really capturing a moment in amber. A photograph is like, oh, remember we did that? And I love that. But this is that science fiction movie that we've all seen where the person is crying, looking at the 3-dimensional video of their family from before
reaching out to the holographic face and their fingers tremble through it.
I did that exact thing this week. That was me.
Yeah.
I'm the post-apocalyptic guy looking at the holotapes, and it really is that powerful. And I'm like, I got obsessed over the last 3 days of just recording these moments with my kids in 3D. And because Apple geniusly put it in the phone, made the phone capable of recording. You don't need to be wearing the Apple Vision Pro to record that.
Oh, cool.
It's allowed me to be out on a walk, out, doing fun things with my kids. Now I'm recording in 3 dimensions. I recorded my son tested for his brown belt in Taekwondo this weekend, recorded that, went home, felt like I was standing there watching it in my Apple Vision Pro.
And you can do that on Quest 3 now also, which I think is pretty incredible that Meta was like, that's great. We'll take that.
Brilliant. The $500 version, the 1/7 the cost version allows you, and they don't need to build the infrastructure of how do you record them because Apple's doing it for them. Apple has all the phones for people, and you're just like, oh, you just watch it on this very much less expensive. Now, having said that, I really wanted to do an A/B comparison, and the update as of our recording evidently is rolling out in stages. So my Quest 3 has not updated to 6.2 or whatever the new OS version that allows you to do that. So I have not been able to see it in Quest 3, but I will at some point and I will report back. But that is to me the killer app right now. It's like I spend hours just looking at these videos over and over because it's so powerful.
Daddy, come play with me. I can't, son. I'm watching this video of you from earlier.
That's right. 5 minutes ago, I'm crying about how you're going to grow old before my very eyes.
I won't spend time with you now. I'm looking at you then. Don't you understand, child?
Yeah, so you're telling me if I want to have a kid, my partner's going to be recording the birth video in spatial.
There you go.
3D?
Yes.
I don't want to live in that world though.
Just
something's still 2D. Please.
You've never seen crowning in 3D.
How do you think that ship came out of that baby's mouth in Death Stranding 2?
Oh, of course.
Spatial video. Yeah, literal spatial video.
I'm sure I'll have lots more to say about Vision Pro going forward, but it's obnoxious. My review is, at this price point, it is absurd for any human to own this thing, including me.
And not take it out to dinner with you at every time you go.
But I do think it is going to mainstreamify this tech in a way that I've been hoping for the last 10 years, 5 years. So I do think that's going to happen, and I'm really excited to see it. And I think, honestly, Quest 3 living in the slipstream of this thing is going to be so great for that tech because, like I said, as great as the pass-through is on Vision Pro, it's not 7 times better.
You can get the full audio version of this show by subscribing to the RSS feed, which you can find at dlcpod.com. And you can support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/dlcpod, where you will get ad-free versions of the show, video versions of the show on demand, and a whole bunch of extra content, like Wednesday's show, paid DLC, including spoiler chats, so much more. That's patreon.com/dlcpod.